Welcome, and thank you for taking the time to learn how school budgets are assembled each year, the financial outlook for the upcoming school year 2023-24, and how you can provide us with your feedback and input as we finalize the budget preparation. I'm Kathy Ludwig, Superintendent of Linn-Wilsonville School District, and I'm proud to work and serve in this community. The responsibility of our school district finance team is to develop a sound and balanced budget of revenue and expenditures that fulfills federal and state financial mandates and meets the vision and goals of the school district. This webinar will review who sets the overall budget and approves it, how funding is connected to the vision and goals of the district, annual revenue sources that make up a budget, annual expenses that affect a budget, and what we are seeing on the horizon for next year as we propose a new budget. Who sets the overall funding for a district and approves it? School district budgets in Oregon are developed using the following process. Every 2 years, the governor proposes a 2-year budget for funding K-12 schools in Oregon. The State Ways and Means Committee then sets the final amount. Using the amount allocated by the state, our school district finance team, in collaboration with school and district leaders, develops a budget proposal to bring before a district budget committee for review and approval. Once approved by the budget committee, it is then taken to the school board for adoption prior to June 30th. The public is invited to view the budget proposal and to provide input prior to and during all budget committee meetings and board meetings leading up to the final adoption. A school district budget committee is a statutory requirement. It is made up of the school board members and an equal number of voting members from that school district's community. These volunteer community members are appointed by the school board. For West Linn-Wilsonville, we have 5 school board members and 5 appointed community members that make up our budget committee. You can find their names listed on the website. Let's now look at how the school finance team and district staff collaborate to align the district budget to the vision and goals of the school district. The West Linn-Wilsonville district vision is a question that asks us to do our best every day in discerning and creating strong learning communities for our students that foster the greatest thinking and most thoughtful people, not only for our community, but for the world. Our vision is then actualized into district goals, co-created by our district leaders and school board. These goals align to the vision, they guide our work, and importantly, help determine how we will invest our resources. District goals, school goals, teacher goals, and student goals are aligned and nested together so that staff and students can work together on priorities and strategies based on student learning outcomes. The district continuous improvement plan describes these goals and actions and is available on our district website. Individual school work plans connect to the district plan while outlining their own specific goals and actions and are available by contacting each school principal. Our strategic investments help us meet these goals set by the district and each school. They also reflect annual feedback from our community about priorities for our schools and for student learning outcomes. These investments work together as a whole in providing access and opportunity for our students to experience school in a way that enhances their strengths and allows them to develop a growth mindset. Much like a Jenga puzzle, these investments are interconnected and rely on one another. To remove one may compromise the effectiveness of the whole. Our task is to develop a budget that can sustain the quality of these interconnected investments over the long term. How will we know that our vision, goals, and investments are working? Well, we examine the evidence, both quantitative, such as measurable results and assessments, and qualitative, from feedback, students, parents, community. Student learning outcomes vary. They may be small increments of reading level success, or larger ones, like completed pieces of writing or a final research project, or a semester course for a grade. Ultimately, we're working towards a rigorous and successful completion of a K-12 learning experience so that our students are ready to move into their future career. We are proud that our goals and investments result in one of the highest graduation rates for a multi-high school district across the state of Oregon, pre and post-pandemic. Now let's move on to review how school districts receive their revenue each year. Every school district in Oregon is funded primarily by three sources: federal, state, and local funds. Federal funds provide specialized grants designated to specific programs like special education and support for students experiencing poverty. State funds, which is our largest revenue source, are collected through property, corporate, or sales taxes. Local funds are those approved by voters to fund specific projects. Local revenue also includes fees that a district might collect for extracurricular activities or preschool tuition. May also include donations. In the last years, special legislation has introduced two significant additional sources of revenue in the form of non-competitive grants. You'll hear more about these grants later. You can see by this pie chart of a typical fiscal year that the majority of our district's general budget revenue source comes from the state school fund. The federal and state grants are not included in this pie chart as they are considered special revenue. They are, however, included in our budget, and we are accountable to their specific spending requirements. The state school fund gives money to each school district, calculated by an average daily membership of students and their level of need over the course of the school year. So first, the number of students who attend is calculated. Then the number is adjusted or weighted to provide additional resources for students who qualify for extra support to be successful in school. This weighted system is how equity is ensured across districts in Oregon, a system of funding based on students' needs and not just the number of students. This graph shows our enrollment over the last 20 years. You can see years here and there that have a slight dip or a plateau, but our overall growth trajectory is upwards until we hit the pandemic. For Linn-Wilsonville School District, our average daily membership during the last 2 years is around 9,100 students. Here's a glimpse of how our students are typically represented across the district. These percentages may fluctuate slightly during the year as students enroll or move. We track and report this demographic data to the state every year. As I mentioned earlier, a more recent revenue resource in Oregon are two significant state grants. These are non-competitive grants, meaning that every school district receives this funding. The first grant is the High School Success Act grant. The money for this grant is based on the number of high school students enrolled. The focus of this grant is to fund strategies that help increase graduation rates, decrease chronic absenteeism, and expand career and technical education course options. This year, our district received $2.5 million in high school success grant funds. We used our grant to hire additional staff for our 9th grade success team, additional counselors, additional teachers to expand course options and credit recovery options. A portion of the grant also supports middle school programs that prepare students for a successful high school transition. The second grant is the Student Investment Account grant. In 2018, voters approved a corporate activities tax to provide additional revenue to Oregon schools to address mental and behavioral health needs and increase academic achievement for historically underrepresented students. We are funded for this grant based on our demographics. This year, our district received $7.2 million in our SIA, or Student Investment Account grant. Based on feedback from our community, we prioritize these funds for additional counselors, social workers, nurses, teachers to reduce class size, special education staff, school psychologists, as well as expanding learning opportunities through our online academy. At the end of this webinar, we will ask you to once again provide feedback on the priorities of this SIA grant. Every school district may also receive funds locally from their own community through voter-approved taxes. One of these is a local option tax levy. In West Linn-Wilsonville, our local option levy was passed in November 2019 and helps pay for about 80 additional teachers and support staff each year. We are very grateful to our community for renewing this levy every 5 years, as it helps maintain our effective class sizes and allows us to staff additional learning specialists, arts and robotics programs, and STEM programs across our schools. Because the funding from the local option is reliant on how well the economy and housing market is doing, you can see the years where a significant decrease in revenue from our local option occurred during the recession and for several years afterwards. During those years, the school district made significant reductions in school staff and also had to shorten the school year in order to balance the budget. Last year, we received close to $11 million from the local option levy. We project about that same amount for this school year. A local community can also, through a vote by ballot, approve funding to a school district by passing a capital bond to assist with capital improvement projects. These bond funds are restricted to projects approved on the ballot by the voters. The November 2019 capital bond identified a number of facility projects as well as building 2 new schools. Full descriptions and progress of the 7 projects identified in this bond can be found by going to the district website and clicking on the tab Capital Bond. Now let's review how school districts plan for expenses each year. This pie chart shows where the annual expenditures typically fall. As you can see, almost 87% of our budget, and most school district budgets, go to personnel costs. The second largest area is allocated to purchase services, such as utilities and transportation. Very little of the budget, comparably, goes to supplies and materials. This is why, when large reductions to public school district budgets are needed, communities will see reductions in staffing or school days in order to make up the shortfall. This year, as we put together our revenue and expenditures, we were pleased that we could maintain so many of our key investments. We were also able to continue several of our new programs, such as our District K Online Academy, which serves about 250 students this year, and our Family Empowerment Center, which expanded to provide resources, services, and workshops requested by parents. We also hired key leadership staff to launch our new option high school, Riverside. Money was also allocated and spent on curriculum updates across primary, middle, and high schools. Maintaining effective and lower class sizes remains a consistent priority for our community. Here's a look at the numbers of our typical class sizes. Again, we are grateful to the voter-approved local option levy and the state-funded SIA grant in helping us maintain these sizes. To conclude, we will share the funding projections for next year, what it means for our district, and how you can provide input into the budget development process. The Governor and State Ways and Means Committee have set the budget for the next 2 years, the next biennium, at $9.9 billion. Public school business managers have factored that due to significant national and state increases in inflation and wages, current service level in schools requires a $10.3 billion revenue fund for these next 2 years. This means a revenue shortfall for districts either in the first year of the biennium or the second year, when reserves may be depleted. For West Linn-Wilsonville, we are making cautious hiring decisions for next year by tracking our enrollment closely and generating savings without depleting programs or services. Our ending fund balance reserve from this fiscal year is critical with helping us maintain programs and staffing for next year. Even with the state revenue coming in less than the service level needed for Oregon schools, we will do our best to maintain all of our investment strategies to meet our goals and strengthen student learning outcomes. This includes prioritizing our K-5 literacy renewal next year with significant funding of over $1.5 million to purchase new curriculum materials, provide professional development and training, and hire additional support staff at each primary school. With the challenges of increased costs and the less than needed state revenue, we'd like to know if the key investments and the SIA grant priorities that we have identified are ones that matter to you, our community. We'd like to know if you have any other thoughts or questions or preferences regarding the budget expenditures, grants, or where we could make adjustments. Between now and April 21st, we'd like your feedback as we finalize our budget for next year and bring forward a proposal to the Budget Committee on May 1st. Feedback from a short survey will be used to inform our budget and grant priorities and will be shared with the Budget Committee when they meet. The budget work session and all board meetings are open to the public. Thank you for listening and learning about the school district budget process, the revenue and expenditures our district faces, and how you can provide feedback. Again, we'd like to hear what you think, so please take the survey, and thank you for all you do to support our students, our staff, and our schools.